What is happening, people? Scarface First here, back with another one of these weekly live shows every Monday, 8 p.m. Today, I'm joined by 4 fabulous guests, 3 of them with me now. Firstly, Mark, how you doing?
Good, thank you. Need a game of football
Yeah,
to watch. Yeah,
absolutely do.
I hate
Stress-free
this.
week?
Not really.
No? I always
No,
think that without Tottenham, you haven't got to worry and you can kind of sit back a
no.
little bit.
Two
No?
weeks of 2 weeks of reading people on Twitter just moaning.
Where
That's
is
the
that?
problem. No game for 2 weeks. People got too much time to think.
Yeah, that is very true, actually. And Haz, not super sub this week. We will get on to
Yeah.
Andrew's in-game management, though. Don't worry. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I actually quite enjoyed the 2 week break, to be honest. Nothing to stress about on a Saturday or Sunday. I actually enjoyed my weekends. Like, yeah. So yeah.
That's also what I was thinking. But it's very
Yeah.
nice to have you back on. And Peter, how you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. Hope you're doing well. I actually think it was quite relaxing, the 2 week break. So, although I did miss it, obviously, I did miss it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all miss Tottenham, but we go for a lot on those match days. But it's very nice to have you all here. And Callum, if people are wondering, because he was on the list earlier, will be joining. He's got work purposes, so he'll be joining a little bit later. But as we always say, if you're listening on any other podcast platform, your Spotify's, your Amazon Musics, don't forget to give us a follow and a 5-star review. A lot of you do, so big up to each and every single one of you that do. However, if you are listening live on YouTube, get your comments, get your questions in at the end of the show, and we will always read them out. Smash the like button. It's free to do so and it helps more people see it. And also smash that subscribe button. And let's get to 2K by the end of the season. Bit ambitious, but we love ambition here. Big up Barney, who's very, very early in here. We're talking 7:30. Big up Jay as well. Mark's in 2 places at once. I can only think that comment was from earlier. Big up Luca. Big up JJ.
Right. Yeah.
so many comments already. So thank you, all of you. Quickly go through them. So we'll pin them as well throughout today's show. So big up. Buzzing for tomorrow. I'm assuming that's for the streams on Parkland Podcast. I don't actually watch them. Don't tell Luke. Right, let's crack straight into it. Whoops. And Haz, I will come to you because before we get to Palace, I want to kind of review our season. Why aren't we starting games quickly anymore?
Okay, like with Klopp in his first 2 seasons at Liverpool, the players are burnt out. So I think at the start of the season, they had a lot of intensity and energy to do the high intensity, high press, high football. But now, because due to squad depth issues and just a lot of these players played so many games and had no rest, and that's kind of coincided with the injuries to Porro and Udogie because, I mean, they did probably the most running in the side, arguably. Yeah, I just think the players are exhausted. And I do think partly it's because in the first 10 games of the season, teams didn't really know what we were about. But now, obviously, we're near the run-in now. And obviously, we've seen a few bad results in between the 10 games and the 26 game week. And I think teams know how to set up against us. And it's kind of shown. So I don't expect us to start as fast because we don't have that surprise factor anymore. And the players are not, I don't think they're having as much energy as they had at the start of the season. And I kind of reflect, I guess, with Maddison, who's come back from injury, who I think everyone kind of expected him just to click straight away, but it's just not really happened. But yeah, he's just one example.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I personally agree. Mark, are you worried that we're not starting games quickly, or do you think it's not a big issue?
I don't think it's a big issue, but I agree with Haz. I think the number of games that some of them have been forced into playing because of the injuries and suspensions, then Bentancur was forced back way earlier than we expected in January, on the back of being out for 10 months. And it does take 3, 4, 5 games to get back up to full working speed. I'm not worried because I think for a lot of people, the expectations were low this season, but I don't think there were that high expectations of, oh, we'll be in the Champions League or we'll battle for that. I actually think we're higher and doing better than a lot of people expected at the beginning of the season. There are many thinking we'd finish 9th or 10th. A few more wins, and I mean, if we beat Palace and Villa the next two, and we'll come on to those later. United have got City this weekend. Top 5 could almost be done. And I know we've got that horrible run coming. Of I think it's West Ham, City, Liverpool, Newcastle, Arsenal, or whatever it is. Plus, you throw in the Chelsea game. I just think I think the teams below us are way more inconsistent than we are. I mean, the fact is, we've only lost 2 of the last 10 in the league, and that's without all those players. So, a bit more confident and not worried.
Love it. No, it's the way we want to be. So really appreciate that, Mark. And Peter, we'll ask you the same question as well. Are you worried that we're not starting games quickly? Brighton, Wolves, or do you just think it's not a big issue?
For me, it's not a big issue, to be honest. I mean, I agree with what both Haz and Mark have been saying. And also with a stop-start, because there's players going away for international duty. We've had so many countless injuries to major players that we haven't had our full squad that Ange has wanted to start. So it's obviously not what he wants yet as well with the transfers. But I think we've still played amazing, and I'm not really worried at all because look, I know Mark touched on it earlier. Our expectations weren't exactly the highest at the beginning of the year. I mean, my one was just hopefully to get back in Europe and have a good cup run. And despite not having as good a cup run as we could have possibly had, I think we will get back into Europe. And it's been an amazing season so far, so nothing to worry about. Yeah,
I love it. Love the positivity. Thank you very much as well, Peter. And Haz, I will come back to you. Also, we've discussed it, haven't we, previously on other shows. Are we predictable at this moment in time for you? And what is your solution to breaking down low block teams?
Okay, so yes, we are predictable because, as I mentioned in my previous comment, that the first 10 games people didn't know what we were going to do. At this point, people know what we're going to do. And there's a blueprint to get a result at Spurs, especially away from home now with the Wolves game. And obviously there's some games before that where it's like a blueprint. You sit 10 men behind the ball and you just play on the counter-attack with fast players. I know I make it sound simple, but I was trying to summarize it. Okay, so how to solve the problem? Well, there's 2 options. Either you become the counter-attack, they counter-attack, so you give them the ball, and then you suddenly push them further up the pitch. So now it becomes a bit of a different game. That would mean that Ange adapting his tactics to not play such a high line, maybe. Or you don't invert every single player on the pitch, like inverted wingers, inverted fullbacks, because it makes it extremely narrow, and then we end up doing the tippy-tappy around the box like we did last game, where I'm just sitting there just watching the ball go round and round, sideways and sideways. So instead, you try and stretch the pitch and maybe play wingers on their strongest foot, because we don't really have, I don't think, exactly like a Lennon or a Bale like back in the day. And then try and stretch them that way. Because if you notice in the Liverpool game where we finally scored that goal was the time when Porro kind of played, I think he played a bit further up in the later stage of that game. He put ball in from a wide area, ended up going into an own goal because the balls were like fast, they were low. Or in case of have Richarlison on higher balls, maybe you need to mix up the tactics somewhat. I'm not saying you need to completely throw away this high pressing system. You just need to tweak it. So you either need to throw it away completely, which I kind of gave as an example, throwing away and just dropping off and then letting them have the ball, or you tweak it and you just try and stretch the pitch because you're not going to play through them. These teams that come and sit back, they're going to be very compact. They're going to be in like a sort of the same sort of area, I guess. They surround the box. So if you notice the last game, they was around just sitting inside the box most of the time. So you need to kind of either draw them out or use the spaces that are like on the outside. That's how I would do it. But we don't. What wingers do we have really? I told Harry in a previous stream I'd play Porro as a right winger for one game to see how it goes, because he's probably our best cross of the ball in the side.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. And welcome the 4th guest for today. It is Kallum. Kallum, how are you doing?
Is he frozen?
We will get back.
Callum.
Hopefully, Kallum sorts it out. But we will get back to him. So, Mark, in the meantime, would you say we were predictable for you?
Yes and no. I don't think it's quite as simple as that. I disagree with a little bit of what Haz said. So Andy's not going to throw away his tactics at all. What he wants them to do, and he said this a number of times, is move the ball quicker. And he wants them, the system and the way, the style of play, he wants it to become just completely natural, as if they don't have. The problem is that at the moment, some of them are getting the ball, thinking about what they need to do with it. You don't get that time in the Premier League. You look at even Liverpool yesterday, and look at City most of the time, they ping the ball around first time and their touch is so good. But we are only 7 months in with a brand new system, a brand new style, 8 or 9 new players. It's going to take time. It was never going to happen overnight. And I think the start actually gave them a bit more confidence. The Chelsea game and the injuries have just sort of put them on the back foot for a couple of months. And we sort of just been getting by in games and getting wins. But I think once we get back to almost playing instinctively, as opposed to pass the ball, stop the ball, and there are players within the team that have played that is their limitation. And we move the ball quicker, then you unbalance the opposition, then you can play through them and round them. But we just haven't had the personnel available for me in the last couple of months that are capable of doing that.
But Mark, so I know it's on my podcast. I just want to ask a question. Don't you think it's a big issue that we play so inverted with every single position? Like because there's so many players in one congested area. That's what I find when I watch us play. So I don't know how you're gonna break down a team unless you.
But I think that's why I say Ange wants it to become instinctive and the movement off the ball and the moving of the ball quicker and more natural. And then you won't see that. The problem is someone plays a pass and they don't move, or it's not instinctive. You get 3 players in a line or 3 players in a really small area. I don't know. You can see frustration with some of them when, I hate to pick out players, but when Højbjerg plays or when Skip plays, and they can't do this, but they can't do the things that Sarr and Bentancur and early in the season Bissouma, what they were doing. So I don't know. I'm willing to give them a little bit of a free rein this season. The summer will be very interesting, and again, we'll probably get on to some of the questions later that I saw on Twitter earlier. So
we will get into it. No, we definitely get onto it. Absolutely fine. And welcome on, Kallum. Have you got it sorted?
All sorted, mate. All sorted. I'm sorry I'm late, guys. I've been on the late shift for work as always, so I'm on call still.
No worries at all. It's great to have you on, and to kind of very straight in there, Kallum. I'm going to ask you the same question, so I hope you've been listening. Are we predictable for you, and what would be like your kind of solution to breaking down low block teams? Because I think we really struggled against Wolves to do that.
Yeah, I would say we're definitely quite predictable in the way, because we've been like it ever since Poch was here. We've never been able to break down low block teams. So what we need to do is constantly use speed, pace, and a little bit of creativity around the wing play to try and get around their low blocks. So I would say that definitely against Wolves, we were susceptible to a crap pass, a bit of grief that they gave us, and they definitely did shut us out. So I think we discussed it last week on Park Lane, where literally it was just like, if we'd have used Werner and Johnson from a lot earlier, it probably would have worked, compared to how it played out, making subs in the 65th minute when we was already trailing the game, which had already been out of our control for 15 minutes at that point, as it is in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And big up Ellie. Ellie says put Kulu in the midfield where Bentancur gets his fitness, do 50-50, share that role. Then when Bentancur is up to speed, play Kulu as a false 9 or left wing. And there you go. Finishing off my message, or put Kulu left wing and Sonny in the middle, as he's more clinical than Rishi. Peter, to bring you in on this, are we predictable at this moment in time in the season? And again, does it worry you? And what would you kind of do to solve that?
Look, I feel like against Wolves especially, we were very predictable. It was almost the same patterns of play, like Haz touched upon earlier, where he said he was watching the same patterns of play on the edge of the box. It was almost like the same attack was happening again and again. And that could just be down to Wolves' fantastic defensive structure, because they played amazing. We can't deny that. But I feel like there was no plan B almost from Ange. I would have liked to see maybe Kulusevski come into the middle, like Ellie said in the comments, and maybe bring on Brennan Johnson or a Timo Werner out wide earlier to maybe attack at the fullbacks, because I feel like that's what we didn't do enough of. against Wolves, and that kind of costed us because we left it too little, too late.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. And we're going to move on to player of the season and also flop of the season. This is where it could get interesting. So I'm going to go around one by one and at the same time ask you for your player and flop of the season. Might as well go in order. So Haz, I'll come to you first. Name me your player of the season, followed by your flop of the season. Explain both why.
Okay, player of the season definitely Star for me. I think the guy has just been amazing, considering his age. And how he's just literally just walked into the team. And arguably for me, he's our most important midfielder because without him, we can't replay this high line as well. I don't know if you noticed when he was out, the midfield just didn't look the same to me. He does all the running. He really reminds of Ramirez back in the day at Chelsea a lot. I just see so many similarities in the style of play. And I just think he's just, considering how young he is and considering how I imagine people like me had such low expectations of him, for example, of how he would do as the first teamer. I think he's just waltzed into it and he's playing better than some of the midfielders we've had for years. Flop of the season, I think Harry already knows what I'm going to say. Brennan Johnson, I think he's been a massive disappointment. I know he scored a few tap-ins, but I just don't see it with him. His end product, he gets in these areas and he just doesn't put the ball in. He hesitates too long. I kind of feel like this was a precursor because I watched him play against Arsenal and he missed that one-on-one chance and we skied it over when he should have scored that. I'm sorry. And I just kind of knew after that he was going to sign for us because I was like, this is just a precursor. It's such a Spurs player. But I just don't see him, unless he fixes his end product, I don't see him succeeding at Spurs, if I'm being honest.
Can I question what you mean by end product? Because every time he's come on and he scored, end product is surely putting the ball in the net, no?
Harry, I think you could have buried those chances, being honest.
Still have to get there. Yes.
He almost missed the last one. He hit it really high in the air. I thought it was going to go over. But I just don't think the guy's got it. I just think he doesn't really offer... He's got pace, but he doesn't seem to really use it. Like I kind of expect him to get the ball and try and actually take on some players.
Could you not say the same about Kulusevski, though?
Yeah, you could. But I think Kulusevski at least contributed in other ways. I just don't think Johnson gave it enough. Especially if you point to his price tag a lot, Harry. For 15 million, I kind of expect a bit more. I'm not expecting him to be our best player, but I just think right now he's also better as an impact player rather than a starter as well. So
that's fine.
That's just my opinion anyway. I know a lot of people disagree with me because I don't think I'm getting on his back just because of reasons. I don't know because I know how YouTube and Twitter is, but no, it's just my opinion anyway. So.
No, that's absolutely fine. Obviously, I don't agree, but it's all about opinions. So, guys, get involved in the comments below with your opinions. Peter, who's your player and flop of the season?
So, my player of the season for me has got to be Mickey van der Ven. I feel like he's been so important for our system this season, especially the way we want to play under Ange with this high line. Because we saw, when he's been missing the whole season, almost, 3-4 months we had without him, it was. We just couldn't play that high line properly. We just kept getting caught out. And then you see when he comes back, the flying challenges he makes, we've honestly one of the best signings we've had in recent times, in my opinion. And unfortunately for flop of the season, I think it's been Emerson Royale. And I think that was reinforced with the Wolves performance. He was very sloppy, gave the ball away. I thought he was at fault for the second goal, to be honest. And he did give the ball away for the first goal, led to the corner. So I think Emerson Royale for me.
Emerson says in the chat that he feels like Basuma is up there for flop of the season. Lucas says Basuma is amazing in the first half of the season. There you go. Split opinion on Basuma. Kallum, who's your player of the season, but also your flop of the season? This could get interesting.
I got slaughtered for this last night. That's not fair. So player of the season's got to be Vicario for me. I appreciate what all the other guys have said, but the only reason I go Vicario is he's the only player that has consistently played in all of our games throughout the season. Everyone else has had an injury or a suspension at one point or another for it. So I think he's saved us a lot more points than we would have now. If we didn't have Vicario in goal and probably Lloris or Forster, I'd say we'd probably be sitting at about 12th or 14th right now. Simple as that. Some of his wonder saves, I mean, he looks very, very confused half the time when he does save the ball, but just the moments of madness, we've all come to love them, seeing the compilations on Twitter, on TikTok, wherever it is. So, yeah, I'd say Vicario for me as player of the season. And I'm going to stick with what I said last night. Kulusevski is flop of the season for me. I really expected him to take on more of a step up this year because he's consistently been all right since Conte got him a year and a half ago, nearly 2 years now. But there's something about him that doesn't sit quite right with me. He don't do enough for Sweden and he don't do enough for Spurs because he's got all the attributes to be a top Ange winger, but he's very one-touch. He's a one-trick pony. He knows how to cut in on his left foot, and that's about it from the right-hand side. He's not got much else about his game at the moment, unless he can prove it to us as fans that he can do something different. There's got to definitely be something there that's stopping him because he's been dog shit this year. He's got 2 goals and about 2 assists. That's all. A City game and the Wolves game. They're the only ones that he's really done anything for me. Other than that, sweet FA.
Fair enough. For me, player of the season, yeah, absolutely, it's got to be Vicario. I think that I love Van der Ven. I think that's a very good shout as well in terms of, like you said, Peter, his pace and really suits the system. I think that was really cleverly identified by the club. However, I look at Vicario and go, who's probably, the reason that we've got so many points on the board, and I put that down to Percy Vicario. Some of the saves he's made, he's had no right to save. And I think, against amazing recruitment when it comes to the likes of Vicario. I don't like the word flop of the season, but if you talk about players that have underperformed, for me, it has to be between, and both these names have already been mentioned, Kulusevski or Basuma. They both those names come straight to me. But Mark, I want to bring you on this. Who's your player of the season and also your flop of the season?
Well, I'm going to agree with Kallum for player of the season as Vicario. It's one of the most important positions on the pitch, and we can only play the way we play because of him as well. Aside from all of the saves, he's playing out with his feet and what have you is just incredible. It's something we haven't seen before at Spurs because Lloris, for all his great years and everything, wasn't great with his feet. Flop, underperformer. I agree to an extent with Kallum with Kulu. 2 goals, 6 assists for Kulu this season. Johnson, 3 goals, 4 assists. He's only 1 behind, and he's played a lot less minutes in the same position. So those having a little dig at Johnson, young guy arrived on the last day of the window, had no pre-season with Ange, has had a couple of minor injuries, and he's getting used to a new system, etc., etc. So I'm going to defend him and reserve judgment until next season when he's had a full pre-season, etc., etc. But definitely Kulu and Vicario for me. I'll agree with Kallum on that. Kulu's been disappointing.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, all of you. And before we do move on to Palace, a couple of things I want to do. The first thing is I want to know where you all think we're going to finish at the end of the season, whether that will be a failure or success, because obviously we all know where we were in October. That 10-game unbeaten run, there was outsider talks, if you like, of potentially being title contenders, and there's even more extreme that we could win the title. So you're going to go reverse order this time. So Mark, I'll come to you first. Where do you think we'll finish at the end of the season, and success or failure for you?
I think we'll finish 4th. I think the European competitions for the likes of Villa, etc., will make a big difference to them. Any European place would be success for me this season. We have to have European football. So anything really from 6th, 7th upwards. But I do think we'll finish 4th. I hope we don't suffer because of like Newcastle have done next season. That will need to, if we get 4th, it needs to be addressed in the summer. Squad depth, that is.
I agree, because we struggle with injuries and we haven't even had Europe. That does concern me slightly. Callum, where we finish? Success or failure? Talk to me.
I'm still going to stick with fifth, mate. I think if we can,
Okay.
I would actually take any European competition at the moment. I'd even take the Tin Pot Trophy or the Checkatrade Trophy of the Conference League. I would like to see us back in Europe because it feels weird not being there. But I'm kind of the same with Mark, that I think Villa will get caught out. Villa just are looking like they're going to run out of steam eventually. United are still a bit of a force to be reckoned with. But if we get fifth, I think we'd be good. Get Europa League, give a chance for the younger players to step up and blood themselves as well. And we just need to build. But what we need to realise is that Ange's record in Europe is really poor as well. I know he's only done it with Celtic, but we've got to come to the realisation that most of the clubs that are in the Europa League are the level of Celtic or below them. So we've got to be prepared to actually take the steps to play well and not just get into Europe and go out in the group stage or the knockout or whatever stages they are now, because I think it's like the 35 teams in Champions League and the same in Europa or something this year. The coefficient is ridiculous, but we need to take it seriously if we are going to go for it.
I'm happy to talk you through it if you want, Callum. I'll talk you through it. And also, just we're going to suffer anyway with the coefficient because we lose the Champions League final this year, that year. So we lose a whole stack of points.
Wonderful.
There you go. Peter, I'll come to you. I want to know where you think we're going to finish at the end of the season. Where you think we will finish? In your eyes, success or failure?
I agree with Callum here. I think we'll finish fifth this season. And honestly, I think it's a massive success. From what our expectations were, well, my expectations especially at the start of the season, I didn't even expect Europe, to be honest. I thought we've just lost Harry Kane. And even along the season, we had so many injuries as well. To even finish anywhere close to top four, I think will be an amazing success in the first season of any manager. If you look at most teams with new managers, they don't always hit the ground running. And I think we've almost hit the jackpot with Ange. First 10 games, we played absolutely brilliant, I think. And we got majorly good results. So I think finishing fifth would be a realistic option at where we are this stage of the season. I think Villa might get caught up in the Conference League. They've got tough fixture against Ajax, so you don't know, they might get knocked out there. But if they do go through, I can see them maybe dropping some easy points towards the end of the season. But Man United, I think they will come stronger towards the end of the season. You just can't trust Man United.
No, you cannot. You just don't know what Man United are going to turn up. You don't know what players are going to be available. So we just got, all we can do is get as many points as possible. But Haz, obviously, we've discussed this before. But you're more entitled to change your opinion too many times. But you're more entitled to change your opinion. Where we finish, success or failure? Can you keep the positivity up? I doubt it.
Well, mixed reviews. So fifth, I think is where we'll finish because I have this feeling that we won't finish in the top four this season. I don't know. It's just a gut feeling. I just don't think we'll have enough because of those fixtures from like the 2nd of April to like the end of May. It just looks horrific. And I just think we'll drop too many points in that period and either Villa or United will overtake us for that fourth spot. So in terms of whether it's success for Ange himself and for like this term project is a successful year because like we're not mid-table, so we're kind of higher up in the league. But in terms of the club, let's be honest, it's a failure because it's the 16th year we haven't won a trophy. So we can't keep carrying on this run of not winning trophies. It's like one of the biggest Spurs trophy droughts in history. So in that case, and the whole for the Spurs club, it's a failure. So success and failure, I don't know how you want to take it.
But would you think it will be realistic or unrealistic to sit there and go that you'd expect a trophy in Ange Postecoglou's first season? I get what you mean in terms of 16 years, but
we
let's
rested
focus
a
on
whole host of players in that Carabao Cup round. That's a very winnable trophy. It's actually the last trophy Spurs won was.
Yeah, that frustrated me. I think that's, being honest with you, I think that's Ange's biggest mistake so far.
With the City game, I'll forgive him because the City game was like the hardest fixture of the like we possibly could have got. But the Carabao Cup, we literally threw that cup away.
he well, it was the first round that we'd entered, but you don't know who you're drawing. You could get City in the next round, you could get Liverpool in the next round, you could get
we literally threw
United.
that cup away though.
We threw that game away. We didn't throw the cup away because you still got to get through the third, fourth, fifth round and the two-legged semi-final, which would have come in January with no players and the players on their knees. So Ange has held his hand.
Players in the league for the final in January, if we got there.
Okay, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that one.
Because this whole notion that we should just throw away cups like this is just because for me, when you rest 11 players or however many 8, 9 players, you're basically throwing away your chance to win the trophy.
I know what you mean. I think Andrew will regret that, being honest with you, but as Mark kind of alludes,
do you remember everyone was fuming after that happened, and now everyone's the game.
Yeah, I was absolutely fuming. We can't change that. We've just got to move on and go. Hopefully, Andrew.
That's a very winnable trophy.
Yeah. Yes, if we get favourable draws, yes.
I still wouldn't have wanted to play Liverpool after that Wolves game. If we'd have played them this weekend, I think we would have absolutely got decimated. We'd have literally had a new backside ripped out of us. That is how bad I think we would have been, because we're just not geared up to play against.
I'm making the assumptions that we're going to get the same sort of injuries if we played the first team in this cup. So this is called the butterfly effect, right? If you play, things could have been completely different. You just don't know.
The problem is half of this season that butterfly's had its wings ripped off, and it's literally a caterpillar again. That's how bad we've been with injuries all the way through.
Falling apart even more if we'd had the Carabao Cup games. I know what you mean.
Not really. I don't think it would have been that bad.
Well, the semi-finals, both legs of the semi-final, you'd have had Skip and Højbjerg as your central midfield.
But what are you basing this on? What if we rested players in the league for the semi-finals like we did back in 08?
Basuma Sarr and Son were away, irrespective of who we were playing in the league.
We still won games without Basuma Sarr and Son.
We did, but not. But not with Skip and Højbjerg starting every single game. They'd have had to have started the Burnley game, the United game, both legs of the semi-final, the City game, the Brentford game.
They didn't have to start every single game.
They would have had to. There was no one else. Who would have started?
We could have one leg. We could have gone out and signed Moussa Sissoko at 33 or whatever he is, and brought Harry Winks back just for the month of January on loan. Just go back to that midfield pairing that actually got us to the Champions League final, didn't they? I think it was that year that we actually rested it on them. So I'd still rather have something had to go this year, because the squad wasn't ready for it. We don't have the level of quality players, and we don't have enough players, because when you think the amount of slots that were taken up in the Premier League squad and the actual squad itself, you had Dyer, Perisic, Lloris, all who went in January, but all were taking up free coefficient foreign player slots for it. So we had nowhere to go apart from taking a chance on your under-21s. And as you've seen this season, not enough of them, or Ange isn't prepared to give them a chance, or they're not ready to step up yet for it. So I just don't think we'd have had enough stuff.
You say that in Poch's first season, where he did actually use some youngsters, by the way, we did get to a Carabao Cup final. I know, albeit we lost it, but it didn't seem to be put an issue then. And I'd argue we'd had probably less squad depth back then. And it was maybe even harder league.
The youngsters that he was using were already around the first team squad. They already had minutes under
10 minutes.
Mason wasn't even a youngster. He was like 23 or 24 when he did
up, though. Like, there are players, obviously, there must be players in the youth setup. And there's another people. Me and Harry know TJ, who always criticised Ange for not actually using any of the youngsters, because we thought this season was the season they was going to actually use some, because it's transitional. Everyone uses this word, transitional season. So if you're going to use, we're going to assume we're in Europe next season, and we make this Champions League, coveted Champions League. Do you really see the youngsters being playing the Champions League? No, I don't.
Harry, when would you play the youngsters? We're going to come on to this.
We are. Do you know what? We're going to do it now. Mark, I believe you wanted to say something about the under-18s, under-21s. This is your moment.
Since yesterday than with Liverpool playing all their kids that had school today, I've seen a whole heap of comments on social media about this is the difference between Ange and Klopp. He trusts his youngsters and Ange doesn't. there is a cavernous difference between the two academies at the moment. Well, it's closing, but it's still very big. When Klopp arrived, he promoted Alex Inglethorpe. You may recognise the name. He ran our academy when Kane was coming through.
He was our youth data analyst, wasn't he? And
then he became
for Enfield.
Yeah. And he rocked up at Liverpool in 2014 under Brendan Rodgers, doing the same thing. And then Klopp promoted him almost immediately when he arrived to build an academy to bring players through. That was 2016, if I'm not mistaken. 2015, 8-9 years ago. It's taken that long to bring these players through. In the last 20 years, Liverpool brought 2 players into their first team as regulars from the academy. 2. Alexander-Arnold and Gerrard. Everyone else, Carragher's and all the rest of them, Owen and Fowler, were all in the 1990s. So in the last 20 plus years, 2 players until yesterday, until this current batch.
Conor Bradley, Harvey Elliott, all these other
players. That's this Harvey Elliott they paid £4.5 million for.
Conor Bradley.
Conor Bradley, it has come through their academy. But he's been there since he was 8 years old. And it's taken all this time.
But my comment wasn't an attack on the Klopp-Ange thing. I didn't even know that was even a thing.
Hold on a second. All these players you saw yesterday playing for Liverpool have all been out on loan already. They're 18, 19, 20. Pretty much all of them have had at least a year at a league club or championship club or wherever. We completely restructured our academy 2019, 2020. Then you had COVID, and Simon Davis was brought in as director of academy 2021, I think it was. With literally, they almost binned the under-21 side 18 months ago. They've cleared out nearly every single player that was there at the time. Last season, we finished bottom of the under-21 league. And had they not restructured the format, we'd have got relegated. All the players, I'd say 80% of the players you see in the under-21 side now, the Donnellys, the Dorringtons, were all played 9 months ago in the under-17 cup final and won it, the Premier League Cup. They were all 16, 17 at the time. They were all 17, 18 at the time. Now they're 18, 19. The step from under 18 to under 21 is a big step. The step from under 21 to Premier League is huge. The other thing about yesterday, Klopp had no choice. He had to play them. Otherwise, he'd have sent out a 5-a-side team. So, yes,
I'm not comparing Ange to Klopp. I don't know why you suddenly got into this narrative. I'm so
No. It was just to discuss about the under 21s, because I've seen so many people criticise Ange for not trying them this season.
But Mark,
and
I
there is a
have
reason
a point
for it,
because people like Emerson Davis playing centre back, right? And we already know how good Emerson is. I don't need to watch another 2-3 games of Emerson playing in defence to know how good he is. I'd rather Dorrington or Phillips was given a go at that time, because at least they might not make the step up, but at least we can see what they can do in the league. Because if you don't give the guy a chance, how are we going to know if he's good enough to play in the Premier League?
The problem...
Sorry, Kallum, to a certain extent, I agree with you. But having seen, including Saturday's game, about 10 or 11 live games, plus about another 6 or 7 on Spurs play, Dorrington is not ready. He's just not ready yet. Centre-backs you need to be really careful with, because they mature a lot later. The nearest for me, Donnelly, Divine, Phillips isn't ready, in my opinion, having seen him a lot. Matty Craig, who's on loan at Doncaster, he is, and Doncaster fans are raving about him. He's completely changed their fortunes this season since he went there. He, for me, is the natural replacement for Skip. 2-footed, calm under pressure. Those few are probably the nearest for me.
And even for him to step up from Doncaster is a big step. They're League One or League Two? So that's how
League Two.
That. Yeah. So I mean, I did a piece for us last night, didn't I, H, saying about who was close, who wasn't close, and You've got Dorrington, who's actually out injured at the moment for the rest of the season. He pulled up with his ACL, completely shattered his leg open, so he's done for the year. And the problem is that's always been levied against the Spurs Academy and the Spurs progression is that we mollycoddle our youth players. We wrap them in cotton wool. We go, right, we'll let you step up and you'll get to about 22 and then we may give you a chance or you're just going to leave the club. So we've been very culpable over the years of doing it. And it's only now under Simon Davis where we're now pushing players out and going, you need to go out on loan, because we held on to Skip for way too long without giving him a loan. We held on to so many different players and they didn't get the chance to do it. And that's why good youngsters like Adua, Rio Griffiths, Harvey White, all of them all left to go to other clubs because we didn't have the right progression into the first team. They need to be blooded in the lower leagues, Championship, League One, League Two. Even Vanarama is a much higher standard than PL2. That's the thing. They need to have the chance, and it's a big ask for Ange to throw anyone in straight at the deep end. I mean, even if you threw Santiago in this year, he was close to leaving the club less than 18 months ago, and now people are calling for him to be playing on the left wing. It's unequivocal to expect Ange to take these massive steps. You want people to play 20 minutes, half an hour, that's fine. But to throw people in straight at the deep end, we did it with Troy Parrott. Looks like he's not going to have a future at the club. He's been on 3 loans now, maybe even 4, not even near the first team. Bane Scarlett, everyone raves about him. Nowhere near the quality of striker that we need. He needs to play in the Championship for 2 more years until even considering to be a Premier League quality player. That's where Ange can't take the risk on, because he's got seasoned professionals who have to be able to do stuff. And when you have a good mix of youngsters, and like Mark said, using Liverpool as the example, all of their young players have gone out on loan to Scotland, to lower leagues in England. So, yeah, that's where we can't take the risk.
Callum, just
why can't we take the risk? Because we just told me, all of you just told me this season was basically like maybe it's not the right word, a write-off. Like, oh, we all expect to be mid-table. So if that was the case, can we not take a chance on some of these youngsters instead of seeing the same players who made the same mistakes year after year before this?
The chance is 10 minutes here and there. You can't just throw them in 90 minutes. I mean, did you see the Donnelly interview this week where he literally said he was really, really scared coming on against City and all that? That's the chance that Ange took on him. And yeah, he did all right, but do you really want these players thrown in there?
He also came on at Old Trafford at 2-2, which shows a huge amount of trust already. I've been to, as I said, I've been to a lot of under-21 games this season. I've stood in one of the Premier League trophy games. Josh Keeley and Jamie Donnelly didn't play. Keeley's on loan at Barnet and doing really well. Both were there watching. It was at St Albans City FC. And I stood with them for a good 20, 30 minutes chatting to them. And they're really nice guys, and they're really into the club, and that they love the club and they love what's happening. But they also get it. I think they know that their time will come if they're good enough and they keep doing what they're doing. Just on one last thing, after the under-21 game Saturday, my son and I bumped into Santiago outside the ground. Wash bag under his arm, just wandering up the high road to go and get the bus or the train home. It was actually quite amusing. So we stopped and had a chat with him. And I don't know whether you've seen his goal from the weekend.
It was tasty. It was tasty.
He ball rolled the goalkeeper and then inside the 6-yard box, and then put a defender on the seat of his pants and then rolled it into the empty net. And we were talking it through with him, and he said he made it look so easy. He said, not easy. And he's a really nice, down-to-earth kid. I've been watching Tottenham. I've had the season ticket 48 years. I have never been this excited about a group of youngsters. I mean, it's not just 1 or 2.
Yeah.
There's 7 or 8 of them that could do it. And don't even get me started on Mikey Moore, who at 16, he's not even 17 until August. I mean, he is so far above the level of under 18 football, but he's not ready for the Premier League. Nowhere near. That's the gap. It's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you said, you have 7 or 8 youngsters, and we're not going to give them any of a chance.
They'll get a chance. You have to be patient.
I'm just saying, I'd rather have seen some of them rather than some of my players. But anyway,
fair enough. But I will come to you, Peter, before we move on. I want to know your thoughts. Do you think this season that you should have been given another chance? Because you've got both sides. It's really interesting. Because a lot of us kind of go here and go, play the youth. But like, as Mark says, we don't kind of think about the consequences that could be in terms of being long term, like kind of it's also just getting injured, as it says. And also, I think Haz makes a good point, and others in the chat, like players like Phillips, who we see him do really well, or Donnelly, could they get the chance? I get both sides to it. So where do you stand, Peter?
Sorry, your mic froze a bit towards the beginning of that question. Could you just repeat the beginning bit again?
I did. No worries at all. Just saying, where do you kind of stand with the fact that do you think you should be given a chance this season?
I think, look, we've got a promising group of young players. Obviously, there's a reason why they're top of the under 21s, unbeaten. I think it is. I mean, they're obviously doing amazing, and I think when we had all those injuries, we could have utilised the youngsters a bit better. I would have liked to see maybe a Tyrese Hall, who's been absolutely phenomenal. I've seen in a few clips and highlights. I would have liked to see him come in. I would have liked to see one of Phillips or Dorrington come through, to be honest, because we've seen what Dyer, Davis, and Emerson can do before. It's nothing new to us Spurs fans. I think if we saw the youngsters, the fans would have loved it. The players would have thrived under the atmosphere, and I think it could have worked out a lot better, possibly. So I would have liked to see chances given to them. And obviously, Mark touched upon Iago Santiago, who's been phenomenal as well. Will Lancashire. I'd love to see some of these come through. Honestly, I think it'd be an amazing opportunity, especially towards the back end of this season, to give them a few experience games and hope we can integrate them more into the first team.
Absolutely. Before we do move on for Palace, there's some breaking news that's just come through a club statement in the last few minutes. Spurs have taken to all socials to say Ryan Sessegnon has undergone surgery to his right hamstring following an injury during an under-21s match. It's kind of, I think, expected in a way in terms of the state he was kind of in when he came off. So, Kallum, I'm going to ask you, before we do move on to Palace, can you see Ryan Sessegnon playing again in the Spurs shirt? And does he have a future at Spurs?
It's so difficult to say, mate. I think he's got 1 year left on his contract, so he's out of contract in 2025. There's not optional extension if they do want to do it. I think if he does stay, he is what Ange would want as a backup left back for what Udogie can do and as a left winger. The problem is it's just staying fit. So I honestly can't see him in a Spurs shirt for at least 6 months, maybe even longer. If not, he'll be sold in the summer, or they may just release him. But it's a £30 million loss, and with FFP, can you really justify a loss like that for a self-sufficient club like Spurs? That's the problem.
Good point. And Mark, can I get your instant thoughts to this breaking news?
Just on the last bit of that, Kallum, surely his book value would be written down year on year anyway. And he's been there, been at us for 4 years,
maybe even longer than that.
1 year left, so he may be already paid for. So technically, there's no loss because he's already paid for. Is there anything left of his right hamstring? I just
does he even have any hamstrings left?
When you said has he got a future in a Spurs shirt, I think you just should have stopped before saying in a Spurs shirt. Has he got a future in football? That's the reality of it. I honestly, I could see him having to retire. I mean, the injuries have got so consistent, and it's the same, and it's injury on injury on injury, and all you're doing is building up scar tissue in the muscle. You can't see him playing at the top level again.
Do you think he actually came onto the scene too early? He was playing high-intensity football at 16, and he was a very strong, pacey winger, wasn't he? And the amount that he kept pushing,
very possibly. You look at someone like Michael Owen, who had major hamstring problems. He was playing high level, high intensity at 16, 17. And there's been quite a few cases of that over the years. So very possibly, but no, I think we need to move on. Whether we pay up half the rest of his contract or half of the rest of his contract in the summer, there's just no point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sadly.
Peter, yeah, I agree. Peter, and also your live reaction to news about Ryan Sessegnon.
I mean, it's saddening because when we first signed him, I was really, really excited. I mean, fast, pacey, skillful winger from Fulham. I thought it was everything that we needed, to be honest. But unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out that way. And it's saddening to see all these injuries upon injuries. I mean, he just came back from a major injury as well. He was out for about 8-9 months. To play not even one game and then get injured straight away again, it is really saddening to see. But unfortunately, I don't see him have a future at Spurs, to be honest.
I swear that transfer window keeps coming back to haunt us every single time that I think about it now. Lo Celso dead, and Ndombele fat, Jack Clark banging it in for Sunderland and not getting sold to Napoli, which didn't help us, where we could have got a massive sell-on clause. And then Sessegnon, that whole window was just turgid. It was one of the worst windows, and yet everyone thought it was our best window in years. It's just ridiculous looking back in hindsight.
Thanks for reminding it.
That's one way of putting it. Absolutely. Brutal. Haz, as well, so your reaction to this breaking news.
I think it was kind of inevitable because he got injured again. But in terms of the long-term future at Spurs, I kind of agree with Mark. And maybe even in football, I think he's done. I don't think he's going to come back from this. Especially because he has, I think, a year left or something, like Kallum said. So I think Sessegnon's time is over. Whether that's through him being released or just retiring from football, I don't know. But I think that's it for him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's definitely him at Spurs done. Is whether he takes the risk again. I can't see it, not at a high level anyway. But we will see what unfolds. Because I do want to move on to Crystal Palace because we're 52 minutes into the show and we haven't even mentioned Crystal Palace is meant to be about that. Absolutely love that. How many times do I do that? So let's go straight into the preview. And Peter, I'll come back to you. How are you feeling about the game on Saturday? And what would your lineup look like at this moment in time? Talk me through it.
Could you feel again? The mic keeps cutting out.
No worries, that's fine. Let me know if it happens again. How do you feel about the game on Saturday? And what would your lineup be?
To be honest, I'm feeling quite confident, despite Oliver Glasner coming in and winning his first game. I felt we almost struggled even against 10-men Burnley to break them down a bit. And I think we won't really have that much of an issue. I mean, we've had this 2-week rest, obviously, working in the training ground. I think Udogie might be back, hopefully. So I think that's a massive positive for the way we want to play. I know we won't have Porro back yet, which is a big shame, obviously, for me and for Spurs. But I think Udogie is so important for the way we play going forwards, especially. And when we're watching Ben Davies play that same role against Wolves, you can just see he almost didn't quite know what position he needed to be in at certain times and what he wanted to do. So I think having Udogie in, I think that'll be my only change, to be honest. I'd like to see the same team and maybe Brennan Johnson in, because I feel like we need to attack at pace, especially down the side where Joe Ward is playing. I mean, he's not the fastest defender. So if we can get at him with pace with Brennan Johnson in behind, I think we can beat them 2 or 3-0.
Okay, absolutely. Save that score prediction. I'll let you decide that. We'll get to score predictions at the end. There you go. Reminds me, don't give your score predictions. But Haz, I'll come to you. How are you feeling about the game on Saturday? Talk me through your lineup, 1 to 11. Last I heard about both Porro and Udogie was that they will be assessed on Friday. But you might have had something different.
Yeah, that kind of changes my thing. But so I'm not as confident as everyone else because there's a new manager bounce, I think, still in play.
Let's face it, you're never confident. We could be playing unfortunately United and you think we'd lose.
Well, we lost away to Colchester once. But as in for me, people coming into these games, I think, just expecting us to roll over teams. And I think nowadays they would have watched the Wolves game and they will come here with a similar blueprint. So I don't think it'll be as easy as everyone thinks. My team is assuming Udogie and Porro back, I'm still playing, obviously, Vicario, Van der Ven, Romero, Udogie on the left, but I'll put Dragusin at right back and push Porro at right wing. I'll try that. And I guess Son and Richarlison make the front three. And then the midfield, I guess we're going to have to go Bentancur, Maddison, and Sarr. I think that's the best option right now. And yeah, that's what I'll go to. I'll leave my score prediction for later because, yeah.
Yeah, please do. You give me no question at the end otherwise. Thank you very much. Mark, I'll come to you next. How are you feeling about Saturday's game? Oliver Garcia's Crystal Palace side, and also talk me through your lineup.
Oh, firstly, they're nowhere near as good as Wolves. The league table tells you that. They also haven't got their two best players, in my opinion, Elise and Eze, who are both out for months. Thank you, Roy Hodgson, for playing them when they were pretty broken. Assuming Udogie and Porro are both back, the back four picks itself. Probably Bentancur, Sarr, Maddison. I'd like to see Son through the middle again.
Yeah.
I think I'm not no criticism of Richarlison. He's been on a great goal scoring record. I think the last couple of games, I think maybe just switch it up and I'd start Johnson ahead of Kulusevski, just to maybe give him a kick up the backside and say, don't get too comfortable, mate.
Yeah.
What I would do on the left, I'm not entirely sure. I like Timo Werner. I really do. He makes some great runs and the ball never seems to arrive. And I'd probably go with Werner, Son and Johnson as a front three.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of at as well at the moment. And someone who really likes Richarlison, I think he's been off it the last couple of games. I think Werner, the runs he makes, you've got to have him in that team, especially when we're talking about like Wolves, to me, a little bit lethargic, didn't move the ball quick enough. Werner gives you that different option. We need him, and so does Brennan Johnson to an extent. And also, you can't leave Son out of this team as well. Callum, how are you feeling? And talk me through your lineup.
Well, I hope Ange has taken Ryan Mason off of set-piece defending. Let's put it that way, because we need to learn how to zonal mark. If everyone's going to zonal mark, I feel confident about Saturday. But knowing our luck, it's the same old, and we'll concede corner after corner after corner. And with Anderson, Gahey, Mateta, Edouard, well, you might as well just be writing in the stars that we're going to concede a load of set pieces as usual. But no, I would hope that we've actually used this time wisely. And like the other guys have said, if we can get some sort of form going here, then it'd be a good way of bringing Palace fans down, because they all seem to be celebrating that they've got a Europa League winner and all that. So if we can bring them down a couple of levels, then say stay in South London, then they'll be all right. But I would say, I think there's a good chance Udogie's going to be back, but I don't think Porro will be. So I think it'll probably be Udogie and Emerson for me at fullbacks, with Van der Ven and Romero. Probably Bentancur, because Basuma was atrocious against Wolves, didn't offer nothing going forward at all. With Sarr, and I would maybe play Højbjerg, because I really don't think Maddison's been any use to us since he's come back from injury. I'd rather bring him on as an impact player and maybe have Sarr and Bentancur as the ones who push forward into that position. I'd drop Kulu, complete waste of time, and I'd rather play Werner, Son and Richarlison, and then have Kulusevski and Johnson as options off the bench. I think that'd be our best choices at the moment.
I think that's a very good shout. And again, if someone's like Højbjerg, the only reason I will probably disagree with you in terms of that midfield. I think that Højbjerg absolutely in terms of what he gives you. But I think against Palace, I suppose I'm used to a kind of Roy Hodgson team where they sit back and you'll need someone to unlock that defence. I don't think Højbjerg can do that. But if Palace come out a little bit, and Højbjerg could be that one that puts his foot on the ball, I guess we'll have to see. But I do want to move on to score predictions. Before we get on to questions that people put forward for the podcast earlier on Twitter, or X, if you like to call it that, So do stay tuned. So Mark, kick us off with the score predictions.
3-1.
I'm assuming Spurs.
Yeah, I just don't think we can keep a clean sheet at the moment. Callum Gahey's injured.
Oh, well, that's at least one result. So we'll be conceding only 3 corners instead of 4. So we're all right. We're all right.
That's what we don't concede from any. Callum as well, score prediction.
7-1 to Palace. Because Ryan Mason is still on. No, I'll stick with my consistent 2-1 Spurs.
I think you've got to a point where you don't often get score predictions right, so you're just going to stick with one score and get it right for the end of the season. No?
Like we said last night, I will eventually get there, or I will continue being crap at FBL, score predictors, and I'll probably give up podcasting by the end of the season one way or another.
There you go, brutal. 1-0 Spurs. Barney says, I wish I had your positivity in terms of keeping a clean sheet, Barney. Maybe you haven't quite seen Spurs as much as we have. Who knows? Let us know why you think we keep a clean sheet, Barney. Callum's got my logo there. I have to have a word with him about that. Never mind. Peter, I'll come to you next. Stealing my logo. How dare him. Peter, so your score prediction.
Yeah, like Mark said before, Elise, Eze, Guehi all out. I think we'll win 2-0. I think it'll be a nice, comfortable home victory, which is what we needed after the last couple performances.
Yeah, absolutely. Got a comment here from Light Thoreau 15. Big up, no regular listener to the show. Says dropping Madison would kill our creativity. Saar, Bentancur, and Højbjerg can't replicate that. Fair enough. Jay goes 2-1. I think it'll be quite a common score in terms of Palace. Was that consolation, if you like, and I don't think Palace will be able to hold us out, especially without Marc Guéhi and also the attacking presence, obviously, to take the pressure off their defence. Haz -1, save you to the end. Are we going to get all 4 wins? I'm feeling a draw from you.
I don't know what I told you earlier. 2-2.
2-2.
They left at least 1
2-2.
off a set piece and 1 off a break, so they should.
So 2 points drop for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think the Wolves game. I think any away team will look at that game and take some encouragement from that, because, and as we spoke on earlier in the show, we're very predictable right now. So unless he tries something completely unorthodox or tries to tweak his system a bit, I fear for us I actually fear for us more against these sorts of teams than I do against the bigger teams, because the bigger teams more like to come at us, so there might be more space. But against a team like Palace, who inevitably will sit 10 men behind the ball, I think it'll be more difficult.
Yeah, no, absolutely, completely agree. Well, we'll have to see whether they put 10 men behind the ball or not. There's no Roy Hodgson aspect, so who knows? If they're sensible, they do, and they counter with the likes of Mateta, Edouard, and rely on set pieces, but we'll have to see. Let's hope that he hasn't done his research on Tottenham. But before we get to the questions that I did say we will get to for the podcast, a couple more things actually are going to add in, like I always do. How many points do you think we'll get from our next 3 Premier League fixtures where there's 9 points available? I'll go around the houses one by one. Our next 3 Premier League games are as follow. Crystal Palace at home, as we know, this Saturday. Aston Villa away and Fulham away at the Craven Cottage. That's Crystal Palace at home. Aston Villa away, Fulham away. I've been a bit kinder this week because sometimes I put 5 or 6 in a row, but 3, it's a good balance with 9 points available. I'm going to go in no particular order. Callum, let's hope I can throw you out here. How many points are you going to get? I'll catch you out if you like. How many points are you going to get out of 9?
Could we change the question and say how many set pieces we're going to concede in them 3 games instead? Because I could probably predict that better than the points. I'd probably say out of 9, I'd say 4. I think 4 points. I hate Craven Cottage and I really don't like Villa Park. I really hate going to both of them stadiums. They are so bad to play at for us. We never get a result there.
Lucas does 4 set pieces. No, that's. I think, Callum, were you thinking a bit more than 4?
Probably about 7.
At least you're honest. Mark, how many points are you going to get out of 9?
I'm going to go with 6. Our record at Villa Park actually in recent years has been ridiculous. I think before the defeat last season, we hadn't lost up there in years. I'm talking not just 2 or 3 years. I think it was about 8-9 years since we lost up there. I was just trying to look up whether the Villa game falls within their Conference League week.
I think it's in between both the.
It's in between, yeah.
It's in between both legs. That could be key.
Yeah.
That could be key. And did they get knocked out the FA Cup, or are they still in?
They got knocked out to Chelsea.
No, they're out.
Oh, they lost to Chelsea, didn't they? So they don't have a game this midweek. I think we get a point up there. I'm going to go with 7.
7. Oof,
'Cause we're
that
good
is
at Fulham.
positive. Barney says 5. Guys, get involved in the comments below. Barney, justify 5. Where will we get the points? Because I hate to assume you just don't know with Tottenham, so justify where we're going to get those points. Peter, how many points are we going to get from our next 3 games?
I think 7 as well, but I actually think we'll draw at Craven Cottage and win at Villa Park just because of the fact they've got the 2 Ajax games. I think they play Ajax away first, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So they played before on the Thursday Ajax away, which is never an easy ground to go to.
No, definitely not.
Monday. So I reckon we could get a result at Villa Park. So 7 points for me.
I reckon they're going to skin Ajax alive. Ajax are horrible. They're such a poor team now. And they've just got Liverpool hand-me-downs playing for them now as well. So it's even better.
Yeah, for me, before I come to you, Haz, I'm looking at our next 3 games. I go Palace. I don't think it'll be easy, but I think that's 3 points. So that's pretty routine for me. Then I skip to Fulham at the end. I think will be a draw. I think we get 4 points over them overall in the season. I think that'll be okay. And I look at Villa and I go, that obviously is the big game, and I think that what could kind of say that in a way, can we get top 4? It almost feels a little bit like 6 points, and sadly, I do think we will lose out. I think at this moment in time, if it had been played a few weeks earlier, then maybe would have fancied us. But at this moment in time, Villa are very strong. Douglas Luiz, Watkins very strong. Bailey in hot form, and Moreno, never seen him play so well, and they're just kind of get it together again. When myself included, were asking questions of Aston Villa and whether they will crumble, and they look like they've really secured that. But how many points are you getting? I mean, you're negative. Can you be even more negative?
I'm with you with 4 points, but okay. I think we'll draw to Palace and win at Fulham, and we'll lose at Villa.
Oh wow,
we're going to lose 2-1 at Villa. I think.
I just think Palace. Yeah.
I just think Villa Park. They know if they beat us, they're basically in the driving seat. And it's just, I just think Villa are a different animal this season. I've never seen as good Villa side for like a number of years. And Emery's the top manager. I think he's doing great things there, and I just think they'll beat us. Yeah.
Hope you're wrong, but
absolutely... you said you were going to lose as well. So
yeah, I did. How many do you reckon we're going to lose by?
I said 2-1.
Tie or
2-1 to Villa.
2-1. Yeah, I was thinking 2-3-1. Before we do get to the questions, we will get into it. A quick FPL update, as we always do. Top of the league, big up Tom Carr, 530 points, and that league hasn't been created long, so big up to you. Kai got in 2nd place, Tommy C in 3rd, Mickey Race in 4th, Jules Warner in 5th, Rob Perry in 6th, Ted McCoy in 7th, Luca Fagna, big up in 8th, 9th Kenya Daniel, who's in 9th, Mark Sweeney in 10th, Luke Charlton 11th, Robin Mumford, big up 12th, 13th Stephen Horn, 14th Danny Sells, and 15th Lewis Godfrey. That is the top 15 in our FPL league. There is now, let's go all the way down, 116 members of the league. I'm very ashamed to say you have to go all the way down to 87th to find myself. It's fair to say FPL is not a strong point. That's why I tried to leave it to the end of the show. I'll wait for you all to leave so we can dodge that question. But no, congratulations everyone who's made that top 15. You're more than double already of what I've got. So yeah, I hate FPL sometimes. And Callum, you can allude to that because you're almost bottom of everything. So look to get you there as well. But let's move on to the questions that people put forward for the podcast. I'm going to start with you, Haz. Barney says, it's a good question, this. Your all-time favourite Spurs moment you witnessed, and you can have put a twist on this, whatever you like, in terms of in person or on TV. It can be completely up to you.
That's easy. Woodgate's header in the final. Even though it was really bad. I mean, won that final, so for me, it's probably that. Even when I was watching it in like the gods, because our seats were like in the gods, it still was incredible. And also, I was because I'm born in '92, so I was actually present when Alan Nilsson scored that diving header against Leicester. It went to the cup final. For me, that was a big moment as well because I was quite young then. To see us win something, obviously as a kid, was obviously like, yay, win everything now. But yeah, so probably that moment and that one, probably, yeah.
Fair enough. Peter, coming to you. A says, what's your lineup if we don't have Porro or Doggy? I know we've touched on your lineup, but who would in particular come in at right back and left back for you?
If we don't have Porro or Doggy, I reckon I've got a feeling Ange might actually stick with Ben Davies and Emerson. Although I don't want to see, I'd rather see maybe Dragusin utilised because he could play centre back and maybe Van der Ven in the inverted left back role or something like along those lines. Or even a Papa Matassar playing right back and then inverting into the middle, adding an extra body, and then you could put Kulusevski maybe into the midfield and Johnson having another attacking threat, just to maybe go out Palace more, who might sit back. But I still think it'll be Emerson and Ben Davies that will play.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question I'll give to you, Callum. Finney says, when Spurs go through a real rough patch, will Ange take the Arteta route of defending his players and not making excuses, or the Ten Hag route of making excuses and comparisons to other managers? This is coming from an Arsenal fan. So, Callum, what's your response to this?
Oh, God, this is an horrible question. Because Ange is so cryptic in his press conferences. One day he's happy, the next minute he's angry and slandering someone. So I'd probably go with the Arteta route. I think the Arteta route compared to Ten Hag, because Ten Hag's just a moron. Let's put it that way.
Well done. You could have said something a lot worse there. So thank you very much, Callum, for thinking about your choice of language there. Love it. Mark, I'll come to you next. THFC Wave says, big up to you, says, what's your ideal front three? So kind of, let's say, I don't know, let's kind of put this into a scenario. We're in a final. What would your front three look like if everyone's available?
Good question. I'm probably going to go with Son, Richarlison, and Johnson.
At this moment in time, yeah, I would say so. That'd be mine as well. Peter, I'm going to come back to you because Lucas says, what positions do we need to look to upgrade in the summer?
Oh, that's a fantastic question.
It is.
I would personally like to see maybe a winger who's more comfortable in beating his man, getting down to the touchline and cutting the ball back across. Because I feel like, although we have got Timo Werner and Brennan Johnson, they're almost a bit ineffective in the way they take on their man. And it's almost like they're scared to take on their man at certain times in the game. So I'd like to personally see, I know this could be unrealistic, but Nico Williams from Atletico Bilbao or a Rooney Bargi from Copenhagen. I think one of them two will completely take us to the next level as a club, because it will really heighten our attack and obviously create more chances for whoever our number 9 is.
Can I just add something on Nico Williams quickly? Good luck getting Daniel Levy. Good luck getting Daniel Levy to pay £109 million on his release clause. So I would say whenever any journo says anything about that, that's just a non-starter. Full stop.
Isn't that just for Spanish clubs?
No, that's any club that's in Europe in terms of European competitions.
Okay. Peter, got a question for you here about how do you feel about Arsenal scoring? I'm going to try and put this in a polite way. How do you feel about Arsenal scoring 11 goals in 3 games and Spurs not scoring as many? How do you feel about
that? To be honest, I don't really care as much because you're in your 4th year of the project and we're only 7 months in, and I think we're playing really, really well right now. So when we're in our 4th year of the project, we'll see how many goals we're scoring.
Yeah. Well said. I couldn't have put it better myself. So there we go. Haz, the next question I'm going to put to you, and you know why I'm going to put it to you, because I think it's going to be a straightforward answer to everyone else, but you have a different opinion on this. I'm not saying that you are going to say this,
okay,
but I'm going to be a yeah, but should Ange be sacked? Is the question from Alexander, Man United fan.
No.
Why?
Because there's no one better out there right now for us.
Didn't you say if we lose the next 3-4 games or something that Ange should
5 games in a row, then questions will be asked. There's a big difference between losing 1 or 2 games and 5 in a row.
Okay.
I mean, ABB was sacked at Spurs. I remember he lost 5 games in a row or something like that. Unfortunately, in football, Harry, things change very quickly. And
but do you think Postecoglou is the right man? Do you think Postecoglou is the right man to bring success to Tottenham?
No, I told you that before. I don't think his style of football is going to win us. I think it's too wild.
That's why I asked you the question.
Unless he starts adapting and becomes more controlled like Klopp did and Pep, I think it was just all over the place. Like, it's great to watch for a neutral, and I'm not saying it's not good attacking football. Like, it's not nice to watch as attacking football. Like, because I know a lot of people say that, but I just don't think it's as effective.
Okay. That's
Do you
what
think
again,
it will-
that's- Yeah, go on.
So, do you think it will evolve?
I hope it does, because otherwise we'll be watching the same football again next season.
That wasn't the question. The question was, do you think it will evolve? What are you, a politician?
He's good at it. I'm calling
I
questions.
think it will evolve. I don't know enough about Ange, unfortunately, but I don't. If I'm in hand on heart, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, that's all right. Fair enough. But yeah,
I'm not saying it's bad football, by the way. I'm just saying I just don't think it's just, to me, it's just all over the place.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. I think personally it will, and I think for me, I look at FFP, the new stadium. I think we played it right. I look at our recruitment in the last 2 windows. I look at our manager in the 10-game unbeaten run when we had all our players, where we went toe to toe with your Liverpools, your Manchester Cities, your Arsenals, and I look at this younger team as well, as Mark has spent a big piece talking about in terms of what to look forward to. So for me, I look all around and go, there's a lot to get excited about. Will it bring a trophy next season? Will it bring a trophy the season after? We don't know. But for me, I think it is coming. Kallum, you've been very quiet, very unlike you. I'm going to give you the next question. Not saying anything, by the way. Thomas asked the next question and final question, and that is your favourite Spurs chant ever. Really good question.
Most of them are actually banned at the stadium or are not allowed to be sung.
Let's mention them then. Appropriate ones that are inside the stadium, Kallum.
But them ones are no fun. Them ones are like not what I grew up with and all that. I think probably going back, it would have been the Harry Kane one, just because I saw him come all the way through. So yeah, Harry Kane's one of our own. I'd always stand by that, and it still hurts me when we don't hear it anymore.
And the last question's from you, Peter. I actually don't know who this is, so do you know?
I think that's Kyogo Furuhashi from Celtic, the Japanese player.
Okay.
Have we been linked
with
him?
That's that ancient striker they've got who's like nearly 30.
I mean, I think he's a fantastic player. If I'm being completely honest, I haven't watched much of Celtic this season, but every time I seem to check their scores, he's always on the score sheet. So he seems to be a clinical player. And as a number 9 backup, it could be a fantastic option off the bench, possibly, final 20 minutes or even starting ahead of Richarlison. We don't know. But I think for the right price, I'd 100% take him.
Thank you very much. That kind of wraps us up nicely for today's show. So thank you very much to all of you. Big up to everyone listening live on YouTube today. So far, since the shows were created over a year ago now, listening live, there's been a record number of listening live. So, thank you very much, all of you. Over 100 of you listening live to tonight. I've just checked. So, wow. Thank you very much to each and every single one of you. Big up as well to everyone listening on any other podcast platform, your Spotify, your Amazon Music. Again, that is hitting extreme numbers week after week. So big up to you. Don't forget to give us a follow and a 5-star review. Smash the subscribe button. Let's get to 2K by the end of the season. That'll be an incredible achievement. Obviously, not long ago, achieved 1K at the end of last year. So again, thank you very much for your support. Smash the like button. More people see it. More people get involved with the conversations. And again, it's free to do so and get involved with the comments because all of your opinions matters. You want to join the FPL League? More than happy to put the code as well in the comments below. But guests, thank you very much. Starting with you, Haz. Where can people find you?
with you on Friday night,
of course,
on Spurs Kings TV. So me, Harry, and TJ, who's not here at the moment, we have a preview show every Friday night at 7 p.m. on Spurs Kings TV. So please go subscribe there. Also, you can find me on my channel at Haz Spurs TV. I do post-match reaction videos and just the odd video here and there, and also streams, of course, once or twice a week. And on the socials at Haz Spurs 92, so it's all pretty similar. But yeah, you'll see me again on Friday night with Harry arguing we're off like 20 minutes.
I think me and Haz have like the complete opposite opinion. And how long did we go on for the other day? 3 hours?
Yeah, was that the other week?
Like?
3 hours.
Yeah, it was like a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? I mean, we didn't get through anything we wanted to. It was just about one thing, wasn't it? About,
we
about
started on one thing, you go on another tangent.
The ownership, 3.5 hours, or something like that. So there you go. So go check it out. That is Spurs Kings TV, and also go check out Haz. Peter, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much. Where can people find you?
Thank you once again for having me on. It's been an absolute joy of a time again, as always. The best place to find me is Porro SZN or Porro SZN as it's spelled out on Twitter. Well, I have been a bit inactive on my spaces, to be honest, but we will be getting them back up and running soon. So that's where you can find me on Twitter.
Love it. Thank you very much. Go check Peter out on all socials. Kallum, where can people find you and talk to people about Park Lane Podcast every Sunday, 7 p.m?
As always, mate, thanks for having me on. So it's Kallum Stubbs 97 on Twitter. I am, like Harry, one of the co-hosts with Luke, Winnie and Dave on Park Lane. We should be back this Sunday. Don't know whether I'm there or not. Depends on if I can get out of bed in time. Let's put it this way. But I will be aiming to do different youth segments over the next couple of weeks. So Marco may come and pick your brain for facts on youth players as well, because we seem to be quite on it. So, as always, mate, thanks for having us, and subscribe to Harry's channel and to Park Lane Podcast, and come and join us on Sunday night at 7 p.m.
Yeah, please do. Thank you very much. Jay says, let's get this channel to 200k. I know Jay means 2k, right? But let's just roll with it and go with 200k. So that's now the target by the end of the year, right? Not going to happen, but might as well think positive. No, I absolutely love that, Jay. Thank you very much for that. Absolutely love it. Mark, thank you very much for coming on again. Always a pleasure. Where can people find you?
Me. On Twitter at Marc Spurs. It's just as simple as that. I don't really do it. I don't really do any other social media accounts. I've been on a few other podcasts, so waiting for some invites from elsewhere as well, because I love doing these, because I love all the different opinions. I mean, we've disagreed on things.
Yeah, like literally everything.
But we share the love of Spurs.
Yeah.
It's passion. It's all passion, and I love it. And I just have to sit back, and it's great to see. I love it. So I absolutely love it. So thank you very much. So go check all these guys out on all socials. If you want to follow me, you can there, Harry Scarf 22. Yeah, go on. Haz, did you say something?
No.
Oh, maybe it's just me imagining it. There you go. Okay. What do I blame for that? Let's get the excuses book out.
Friday
nothing
nights,
in there.
I guess.
Friday nights, yeah, maybe. Yeah, absolutely. Already a bit worrying, isn't it? But what I was going to say, I thought I had myself twice, but there you go. Maybe it's me. I go check out Friday's show, Spurs Kings TV, with Haz and TJ. Obviously, I want to co-host there every Sunday, 7 p.m. Park Lane Podcast, co-host there. Shows here every Monday, 8 p.m. This weekend, we'll have the match previews, instant match reactions, match day vlogs, interview with James Blackburn released Wednesday night. We've got an interview with former Spurs and England player Graham Roberts coming in the next 2 to 3 weeks as well. So it is an exciting time for the channel. So do stay tuned, but go check all these guys out on all socials. But thank you very much, because you guys as well in the chat make the show very, very special. But as we always say on the show, come on, you Spurs.
Working as a manager at Celtic Park when we met you. We picked you out, you shook us up and turned us around. You've turned us into something new. And Postecoglou, you know that we believe it when you say you're gonna change it. And Postecoglou, we're the mighty Tottenham, and nobody's gonna stop them. Oh, he looks so fine in blue and lily white. And then he said to me, I'm from a land down under. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou,